Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. We are presented by The Athletic. Today on the show, it's going to be fast and loose, baby. We're here. I'm tired. Pennie is
I'm always
living
tired.
life over in Boston. He's a small child. He's always tired. He knows how to manage his tiredness better than I do. He is a small child. I do not. But I'm very tired from having written, I counted earlier this week, 20,000 words in 4 days. So the draft guide is in full swing, and hopefully you're going to have it by mid-June.
Before the draft is the goal, right?
Yes, by June 20th.
We will get there. That was in high school, our yearbook, they had because they have to print it, right? So they printed it in the spring. Like, we're going to send you the insert of all the spring sports. Just never came. It'll get there. I'm still waiting for it 20 years later. So I hope the draft guide beats the timeline of my yearbook.
No promises right now, Pennie. No promises. The thing we're going to do today, we are going to talk about early entry decisions that have occurred. We finally are going to have a draft pool in T-minus, I guess, 1-2 hours, something like that, 3 hours. Mm-hmm. Rothstein is sending you text messages. What did Rothstein just send you?
3 more hours. We're close. So that must mean it must be midnight. Yeah. It's 9 o'clock here at Eastern. So midnight must be the cutoff.
Yeah.
This is June now. We've moved on. It's June. This isn't we sleep in May anymore. It's June. We're back to work.
Yeah, can John even sleep in May? That's the problem.
I think he tried to, and there's too many transfers and too many guys in and out of the draft. He's like me, just used to it. I have a 3-year-old who wakes up and screams. He just has his cell phone of hot news to break.
Yeah, you have a 3-year-old, and Rothstein has a 3-year-old phone.
He does.
So it's all good.
Older than that. Beautiful human. I love him.
Yeah, this is all positive with John. Oh, yeah. Hashtag, we need to get John on the pod. That's an
easy one.
Fast and loose podcast here today, folks. Talking about the NBA early entry process. We're going to talk all of the guys that have made decisions. We've got Dalen Terry. We've got Moussa Diabate, Caleb Houston, Terquavion Smith, etc. All of the many players that have made decisions. Then we're going to do a mailbag portion of the podcast. Pennie's face looks very surprised right now looking at him. Did a decision just happen? Because we're still waiting on
I'm trying.
Timme, Trevor, Keels, and Marcus Sasser.
Yeah,
that's the 3.
I was trying to scroll, but you sent the bat signal for mailbag questions. So I'm 13 notifications, who's in, who's out. I'm just the people who actually listen and interact. It's a wonderful thing.
Oh, aren't our listeners the best? I'm always so just so stunned every time we get 80 questions for the podcast. Yeah, and
there's 100 last week. It's unreal.
And I'm so appreciative. I genuinely love all of you guys. Thank you so much for
and the 100 people that send in questions. That's as many people or players who think they have first round guarantees. So that's what makes this podcast so special today, because there's 58 picks. This year we lost 2 because of forfeit, and I think there's just as many guys who think they're getting guaranteed money. And with the deadline, it's been fun, who's in, who's out, but I also just sort of anticipate draft night being dark for a lot of guys. I don't want to be the Grim Reaper here, but reality's coming around the corner pretty quickly.
Nah, I think that Matt is right for that, for what it's worth. I saw that our friend Adam Spinella recently on the pod, he tweeted over the weekend, basically I've counted 55 guys or something like that have first round grades somewhere from some people that are reliable or are reputable draft sources. And that's kind of how teams feel right now. I wouldn't say it's 55. I think it's probably more 45 for them. But whenever teams ask me or agents ask me what do you think the range is for my guy? Or what do you think the range is on this prospect? If they're in the 20 to 45 range, I go all the way down to 45. And then the agent will be there's no way my guy's going 45. And I'm just look, probably not, but someone has to drop to 45 out of this group.
They do. And I did a community mock draft this weekend with the Mavs Magic draft guy on there and a bunch of draft Twitter people. And you're just surprised when you have, I had Charlotte, so I had 13, 50, and 45, right? But once you start picking for actual teams, it doesn't matter what your big board is. Guys slide, and really good players slide into the second round. And there's GMs and front offices that have a lot better intel information feel gut on this than us. And there's going to be guys that take the tumble even out of the draft into non-guaranteed money that walk in draft night. They're probably at their house and not at the green room per se, and have a different thing in mind of how the night would end.
Yeah, and I don't blame like representation here. I don't blame like, players' families here. It's just a complicated year. Like there's a real chance that someone that is like Andrew Nembhard is in this draft, right? Like Andrew Nembhard could go 46. He could go honestly like 29 or something like that. I don't mean that to say that who has 29, is it Memphis or Golden State? I don't mean to say that Memphis or Golden State is specifically going to take Andrew Nembhard. I just mean that as a general range. Like he could legitimately go 29th overall, and like that wouldn't blow my mind, right? Like he could go 46th, and there's an enormous difference between going 29th and 46th, given the guaranteed contract. Like same with, some of the younger guys, the teams are very split on. Like Kendall Brown is very polarizing, and he could go somewhere. He could really tumble, I think, unfortunately. It's just complicated. And now we're in the midst of this early entry process that is ending tonight, where again, we're still waiting on Drew Timme, Marcus Sasser, and Trevor Keels. Like I don't know how to advise some of these guys. Like, I think it really just depends on your emotional intelligence and what you want your life to look like. Although I will say for Drew Timme, like, go back to school and make a lot of money. Like, just do it. You're going to make twice as much money going back to Gonzaga as you will playing in the NBA next year.
Be the actual face of college basketball. He's probably like one of the Mount Rushmore of faces college basketball. Like, you're the guy now. This is your kind of sport. You do the mustache thing 100-fold. Gonzaga will be good with Julian Strawther going back, Rasheed Bolton going back. Go back and be the dude, because the NBA, to what you said, I just don't think he would make as much money playing professionally. There's still some things he can work on and iron out in his game. I don't know if the foot speed jump defensively is going to necessarily get there, if the shooting becomes reliable on the move or set threes. It's just more of it's going to be his decision, right? It's going to be like, hey, I want to go make money, be a pro. I don't want to go to class anymore. But Gonzaga's not a bad spot to be at either.
Here's the thing. Adam Morrison is probably like the Gonzaga legend, right? Like when you think of Gonzaga, like when you think of North Carolina, you think of Michael Jordan. When you think of Duke, you think of Christian Laettner, right? Mm-hmm. Or like when you think of Michigan, you think of Chris Webber, right? Drew Timme, if he leads Gonzaga to the national championship next year, and look, the best team in the country has a 5%, 10% chance to win the national title, right? If Drew Timme is the one that leads Gonzaga to a national championship, and he is the first player to do that, he is the all-time guy at that school. There is nobody else.
John Stockton.
It's not even close. It will be Drew Timme. He will be a 3-time All-American that led them to a title. Like,
look, I love me some Drew Timme. I do. John Stockton's on the dream team.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, I think about
Fans at that school will not think of it as John. They will think of it as Drew Timme. They will think of Drew Timme ahead of Adam Morrison if he leads them to a championship. That is a much more, and this is like thinking out into the future, but like, and you're thinking of like a 5% chance of it happening, 7% chance of it happening. But you absolutely take that chance if you're also going to be making double what you're going to make in the NBA on a 2-way contract if you're Drew Timme, right? Like, this is a no-brainer, I think.
Spokane Bar and Grill and the Ford dealership out there, and there's real
shout out Jack and Dan's, baby. Stockton's dad's bar.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they'll have some money behind it. Yeah, it's like he's gonna make his endorsement money just a different way. He can do it in Spokane and get more reps to become one of the all-time college basketball greats. I don't see that happening in year one of the NBA professionally playing either.
Yeah, let's just talk about Gonzaga now. 20 to 45 next year, just to throw the random number that we have this year on it, right? 20 to 45, right?
We're doing all the hedges. I love Julian Strawther. I was a fan for a while. He came out really hot as this off-ball scorer this season. It was good for like a sneaky 17 a game when no one was really paying attention to him and they were so hyper focused on Timme and Chet. And then it caught up. He cooled down as the season went on. And I like the size and the shooting, but he was best as like the fourth option out there. He shot 34% from three the second half of the year. Now he goes back. They have receiver Bolton. They have a little bit older Hunter Salas. He can improve the shooting, work on the passing reads, still be the cutter slasher away from the ball. That'll get him on an NBA court quicker than anything else, and a chance to be a first-round guy in a year. And just he has to channel more of that player he was versus Duke. We had 20 and 10 shooting 8 for 16 from the field. That game was in Vegas, his hometown. I think he has a real chance to kind of be more of a breakout name and solidify himself in the 20s a year from now.
Assuming Drew Timme is back, let's do that, right? Gonzaga is the number 1 team in the country, right?
Where's North Carolina?
They're up there, but like this would be Nolan Hickman and Hunter Salas, 2 post-hype freshman guards that have a real shot to be first-round picks next year. Mm-hmm. Julian Strawther, who we just said has a chance to be a first-round pick next year, and Drew Timme, one of the great college bigs, like if not the best college big in the country. On top of that, you have Anton Watson, a really good defensive guy who can step in and be a consistent presence. And then they got Efton Reed in the transfer portal. And right. I think they still have one more scholarship that they can give out.
Right? Might be right.
Yeah, I think they have one more. Plus they have Braden Huff, the kid that won. Did he win Mr. Illinois this year?
He might have been. He played on our circuit too. He was with Illinois Wolves. They won the Under Armour championship with Jaden Shutt, who's going to Duke. Really good, skilled, can score, can play the high post, do some of the dribble handoff stuff. Gonzaga, I'm going to like contradict myself immediately because Chet Holmgren's going to be a top 3 pick and plays a lot. But they can bring their bigs along slowly too. And if you have that front court, you don't have to rush him into it. He's going to be good, just needs a little bit of time.
Yeah, like I wouldn't expect him to play, 30 minutes a night next year. I would expect him to be able to step into the rotation next year, basically. But that's essentially a starting lineup of Nolan Hickman, Rasheer Bolton, one of Julian Strawther or Hunter Salas, probably Julian Strawther, and bring Hunter Salas off the bench as the 6th man. And then you have Drew Timme and Efton Reed, or you have Julian Strawther at the 4 and Drew Timme at the 5. Or maybe they go out and get another guy, right? Like this is a loaded team. Again, to me, they are the number 1 team in the country going into the year.
They're right there. I mean, you still also have Creighton, who's going to be really good. Houston's going to be really good. Kentucky should be better. UCLA, I wouldn't count them out. It's fun. I felt like today was a lot of decisions, and I talked about this with a media person earlier. There's a lot of decisions today, like for college basketball. I don't think there's many like impact NBA decisions like, holy crap, that guy was projected 12th. He's in or out. These were guys in that 20 to 45 range, more toward like the 45, who will make college basketball great and may not have like that real type of pop in the NBA. So it was today thus far has been a win for college basketball overall.
Well, and you had the first, we'll just kick off mailbag here early with an early question, but then we'll go into what we want the meat of the podcast to be. But you had an early question that I think kind of transitions into that.
Yes, and I'm going to pose it to you. So you posed this 14 minutes ago, and literally within the minute, the first response was from Tristan R. Tucker. Sam, this is for you to start. Most surprising draft withdrawal deadline decisions.
I mean, it's got to be Terquavion Smith, right?
That's mine, for sure.
So I'll be transparent here. So I'd been told from the jump from sources that Terquavion Smith was purely testing the waters, right? It's not that he was definitely going back to school. It's that there was real uncertainty as to whether or not he was going to be in this 2022 NBA draft when he declared for the draft. He decided to, at the end of the day, go back to NC State in a way that is not all that surprising, given the fact that there was real uncertainty there, is all I will say. Like basically in terms of as soon as he declared for the draft, it was not clear that he was going to be in the draft. Having said that, he had a great pre-draft process that really opened the eyes for a lot of teams. He had a good NBA draft combine game where he had like 17 points.
Mm-hmm.
Did really, really well. So in that vein, I'm a little bit, I figured that if he had a good pre-draft process, he would go through to the NBA and be a first round pick. And I absolutely believe Terquavion Smith would have been a first round pick. Having said that, it's surprising to me because of the fact he had a good pre-draft process. I am not surprised based off of the information I had when he originally declared for the draft.
Thanks for the sources. Now make us look like an idiot. You actually took him in a mock draft, so I'm blaming you for this. You were the first person that had him in like the first. You're like, oh, I think I'm 29th. I was surprised by this one because he goes into the combine with the knock he can't play in the NBA weighing 165 pounds. He crushes workouts. I think he won the star shooting drill. He won all the one-on-one competition stuff. He had 17 points in that first combine game and shuts it down. Normally, when you shut it down, it's because you have some inkling, whether it's a promise or a range or a guarantee that, like, I've showed enough here. So I just assumed that he was gone. So that's why I was so surprised. Maybe it's because he wants more on-ball reps. Like you said, maybe it's time to get bigger and stronger at NC State. When he said he was going back to school, I talked to a handful of NBA scouts, and I said, what did I get wrong here? I sort of had him at like 24. Is he around there? And they all sort of said the same thing. Ironically, it was 25 to 35. It wasn't 25 to 40, but maybe just the guarantee wasn't high enough. Maybe it was, hey, we really like you. The love word didn't come out. That was the next step in the relationship. There wasn't a full-on promise and wanted more of a guarantee. Purely speculating, but if that was the sort of range that scouts gave him, he sees, and we've hyped it up enough. Maybe he goes back and he's the Jaden Ivey guy that we've been talking about. He's the Johnny Davis guy we've been talking about who has this big explosion the next year after maybe being a guy in the 20s and now definitely being a guy in the top 10 to 15.
What do we think Terquavion Smith needs to improve upon in order to make that rise up the board like Jaden Ivey did this year?
Number one is definitely weight, and number two is playing winning basketball. There's a lot of times at NC State where I thought him and Dereon Seabron just kind of took turns chucking a little bit, and he's wired to score. He's a real scorer. There were stretches where it was almost like in spite of what the offense was going on there. Like, that was not the shot we wanted. That's, we're down 6. Like, we don't need a fadeaway 3 here. If he's able to just sort of hone out all the negative stuff and be a little bit more structured while keeping those athletic tools and gifts be impactful, that would be the difference for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's dead right. Needs to add the weight because he has real finishing pop in terms of like vertical pop. Like, he throws down some really impressive offhand lefty dunks, but he was one of the worst finishers in the draft class this year statistically, like in the 30s in terms of finishing at the at the rim in the half court. Really needs to be able to do that. NC State, I would love for them to be able to find like a spacing big. Like, I think that would really, really help them moving forward. I'm not like the most enormous fan of DJ Burns, who they brought in, but he'll be able to score. I just worry that he might take up too much space for Terquavion to really pop at the rim. I don't know. I'll be interested to see how that goes. He needs to add weight, needs to take it really seriously though. I think he will be a first round pick next year, but he decided to defer, and that's cool too. And I appreciate the way that he deferred to John Givony as well. He said, basically, I want to be a college kid next year. Like,
should. It's awesome.
Respect the hell out of it. Like, if you're not
leave.
ready, don't go. Like, emotional intelligence is such a critical thing. And that is another thing that I'd been told. Like, the family, there was no pressure on him to make this decision. It was all his decision. It was all about what he was ready to do, whether he was ready to be a professional, whether he was ready to play in the NBA. Kudos to Terquavion Smith's family, first and foremost, for not putting that pressure on him. And kudos to Terquavion for just being like, you know what? Like, I'm good. Like, I'm comfortable here. Like, I need one more year to really figure this out. It's cool. I like it. I'm all in on it.
I do. And while we're here, while we're talking the Wolfpack, while we're talking NC State, one of the ones that was surprising for me, I don't know if you get your bag of sources here, was Dereon Seabron staying in the draft. If anything, I thought it'd be role reversal, that Turk would go in and Dereon would go out. Dereon, it started with me like the case of I went watching for him, and then I saw Terquavion. I'm like, whoa, who's that guy? And that's why Terquavion was prospect of the week early in the season or whatever. For Seabron, I like that toughness. I like how he defends. I like how he rebounds for the position. Has decent vision for like what?
Matthew.
What?
Matthew.
What?
He's a horrible defender.
I mean, good enough. I'm trying to like sell the toughness, the rebound. He at least rebounds, right? Like he rebounds for his position.
Rebounds, yeah.
Well, look, they lost 11 of 12. Like we're trying to take the positives out of here. He has good vision for at least finding assists. Relentless as a downhill driver slasher. He stays with a shot and misses, but it's not always pretty. It's not always pretty on offense or defense. And the shooting was about 20% from three on both years. I just don't know what like the push is to. I'm here, like I'm ready to play professional basketball in the NBA.
So this does not come from sources. This comes from me, like kind of reading. I mean, look, I've talked to NBA teams about it, but like my read on this is he did really well at the combine. Yeah. He did really well setting himself up for success. He's had a good pre-draft process. And I think the idea is why not just capitalize now? Am I really going to improve upon the things I need to drastically improve upon? I'll be honest, like if Dereon Seabron would come back next year and would shoot the ball, he's a first round pick probably, right? Yeah. Like I also understand the desire to capitalize and strike while the iron is hot, right? Like go pro, you've had a good process, your momentum is going up. I would expect he's on a two-way contract this year. Do I think he would have made $500,000 in NIL next year at NC State? I don't know. Probably not. Right?
Nah, like, I wouldn't think so. It could be an age thing too. I wanted to double check, but he just turned 22 like a week or two ago. Maybe thinks that the clock is ticking there a little bit. Like, hey, I got to go. Had a good pre-draft. Sort of am what I am as a prospect. I'm not going to make these drastic improvements where I become that guy you talked about. So take the spot when you can now.
Yeah, great passer, great playmaker, great driver toward the basket. If he shoots or defends, I would say in that order. Like I would like to see him shoot more than I'd like to see him defend. If he shoots or defends, he plays in the NBA for a while. I don't think he will. I don't think I would bet on him doing either, but I understand betting on yourself. I understand trying to make it work that way. I'm cool with it at the end of the day. With breaking news, Matthew Pennie.
Oh, live. Instant reaction. Who we got?
Breaking news. Marcus Sasser is back. He's going to Houston.
Oh, I like that.
For one more year.
Good.
That team is loaded, by the way.
Do you have a new number one on the air?
No, they're number two, though.
Yeah. So Creighton, who you bet on, that was one of your bets, right? Your futures bets or your futures bet you have?
Yeah, I got them at like 100-1 though. Like,
right.
Value, baby. It's all about value. Yeah, Houston was literally the favorite to win the title when I bet on Creighton. So, look, Houston's going to be great. Like Jamal Shead is a great pressure guard, good defensive guard, point of attack. Marcus Sasser is a killer shot maker. He does defend, even though he's a smaller guard. There are two freshmen they have coming in, Jarris Walker. Potential one and done that you can talk about a little bit more. The one and done the freshman I really like for them, and I've mentioned him on the podcast before, is Terrence Arsenault.
Yeah, you love him.
I think he's good, man. Like I had an agent clue me into him, and I was like, oh no, this guy is like actually good. He has all of the tools to be a one and done. He's 6'7", has like a 7-foot wingspan, shoots the ball, defends at a high level. He fits really, really well with what Houston wants to do, I think, particularly. So you have multiple one and done level talents. You have a great, like actual talented backcourt with experience. Mm-hmm. You have Tremont Mark as well, who missed a lot of this year and will be returning. Yeah. Really, really good player. The last thing they need is they need one more front court guy. I think they just need to find that front court guy in the portal somewhere.
They're going to play Jarris Walker a lot in the front court too. And Jarris has he was really bigger and so much physically stronger. So he was a guard, and then he got really big in like middle school and kept sort of that like Larry Johnson style of game. And then he gets to high school. He's like, well, I'm a guard. So he's doing like I'm a big guard, and it doesn't look right. And then he buys in. He changes into more like this 4-3 type of guy that can make shots, that can make plays off the dribble, but let's focus on rebounding, defending, playing big while having that touch and being a mismatch guy. I watched him work out about 3 weeks ago now, and he's gotten better. His body's leaned out. He had a great year at IMG Academy, and he's going to be a contributor. And Kelvin Sampson gets them all playing so hard and playing within each other too.
Yeah.
I liked Sasser during the pre-draft. He was much better at the G League Elite Combine and kind of played through his injury. It wasn't the same at the NBA Combine. I like that decision to go back because the season was cut short anyway because of that said injury.
Yeah, no, I think that Houston would be my number 2, and they would be number 1 if Drew Timme here in the next 2 hours decides to not go back to Gonzaga. Okay. Who do you want to go to next? We've answered a question.
We did.
We've talked breaking news. We've talked NC State now. And we talked Gonzaga. Matthew Pennie, you are up.
Well, let's do a guy that is in. Let's talk Ryan Rollins from Toledo. He had a really big year there as a sophomore, as a young sophomore, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 3.5 assists per game, 47% from the field, 31% from 3. That was the hang-up. And I have him on the first
do you know what
round.
the most important accomplishment is, Pennie?
Is this the combo like 19-year-olds who average 19 points per game?
No, he was a game theory prospect of the week, Pennie.
Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot of those.
God damn it! Come on.
It's fast and loose. I don't know how loose we're going. He is the king of the mid range. The shot looks too clean for it not to translate. That's sort of how I read it. I liked how he played in the combine. He showed he had some vertical pop with like a block at the rim that was called for a foul, but I was like, I didn't know he really had that as much. And he looked like he belonged. He wasn't sped up. Yeah. He moved well away from traffic, had good feet on kind of those spins and relocations. I'm good with this one.
No, yeah, he'll be a top 40 pick, I think. Real chance of going in the first round. Teams love his creativity, love what he can do off the bounce. You know, the 3-point shot is a concern that I've talked about with teams. That's not inaccurate. Like they are worried about whether or not he's going to consistently knock down shots. But as you said, he is one of 2 freshmen or 2 teenagers in the country last year to average 19 points as a 19-year-old. It was him and Johnny Davis. So I think that teams will be high on Ryan Rollins. I think he will go somewhere in the top 40, and I think it will be on a guaranteed contract next year. It makes more sense for him to go back, I think.
Go back to the NBA.
Go to the NBA.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
My brain died.
We're loose.
To go to the NBA.
Okay. He's in.
Next, the Michigan guys.
Okay.
Caleb Houston and Moussa Diabate. Okay, let's talk Caleb Houston first, because Houston continues to be a source of every time that you play with your headphones, I assume that like I'm talking too loudly and shouting and you're just like having to pull away the headphone.
I have a superhuman body. Like I have really big ears. They get really hot really easily. That's all this is. Don't have to make it more than that. That's all it is.
I just want to be very clear. I have a superhuman body. Or words
super weird.
Super
weird. I'm just I'm awkwardly built. That's all it is. You're not the Australian Airways aren't hurting me.
You know what this is? This is a podcast of balance, right?
It really is.
Rob Doster, Field of 68, you know, love those guys. Go subscribe to everything. He made fun of me a week ago because of the way I wear my AirPods.
They're ridiculous.
Right?
They are.
And the reason for that is that I have very small ears, and thus
perfect.
I've literally been told this by a doctor, have very small ear canals. So the headphones literally do not fit in my ears.
Oh, is this recording? This is going to be a real professional podcast. Well, it just looks like when you have your earpods in, it looks like they're about to like shoot laser beams somewhere. They're like aiming at something.
That's right.
And people said to me before, like, can you help Sam with that? I'm like, I'm not going to tell him how to wear his headphones, but the tiny ear canals, I guess that.
No, it's literally like, so like most people wear them just like down, right? Like pointed downward.
Like a normal person. You put in your headphones.
Yeah, like a normal person, right? And the reason that I can't do that is like if I point it that way, the way that the ear canal is shaped, I literally can't hear anything. It blocks out all sound.
We gotta talk Michigan. This is so bad. We gotta move on. People don't also know that we recorded for like an hour earlier today, draft prospects, and we did like 8 intros because we couldn't stop laughing. The microphone was falling off. This is not the day. Or maybe it is. I don't know. I hope people are laughing and not like when
the pop
you talk
filter
about
is just, like,
prospects
falling
and stop
apart.
talking about earphones right now. But that's a
God.
good laugh. I'm really tired.
This
Caleb
is
Houston.
life.
Let's go Caleb Houston. I didn't think it was a surprise because there were promised rumors out there. So when it said I'm staying in the draft, I just thought, yeah, I know. Like everyone thought that.
So, like, look, I've talked to a lot of decision makers. Nobody can point to the team yet where Caleb Houston has the promise. Like,
no, I'd
most
say, hold
of
on.
the time,
Do you think there is a promise for him to say this? Or you think he just, I'm all in?
I wonder if a team maybe hasn't promised him, or maybe they have like a few teams, not just one team, in the second round where they're like, if you're there and we keep the pick, you are very likely to be our pick, basically.
Sure.
Or like, if you're on the board, we have pick. I don't even know who has pick 42. So this is not me saying this team. If you're there and we have pick 42, we will take you. They have like maybe a few of those teams that are like that. But again, like Caleb Houston is working out for teams. Like he worked out for Golden State, 3 days ago or something like that. So Golden State is 29. You would presumably think that if he has a promise before 29, he's not going to work out for Golden State, right?
Yeah.
My reasonable guess on this is that Caleb Houston's agents feel very good about a few teams in the second round that will give Caleb Houston a guaranteed contract, and then they will try to work him up into the first round. I don't know. Like, I've talked to multiple like high level decision makers on this, and they're just like, they'll either just straight up say like, we don't think there's a promise, or they will say, look, maybe there is, but we don't know who it is, So either that team has done a great job of keeping it quiet. Like if you remember the Matisse Thybulle thing, like everyone by the combine knew that Matisse Thybulle had a promise from Philadelphia.
No, it's sort of like the Poku thing too. Everyone like had that one.
Knew that Oklahoma City really liked him,
2 or 3
at the very least. Yeah. So I'm skeptical, I would say, maybe is the way to put it.
And where do you currently have him roughly
in the
on your
40s
board?
somewhere?
Yeah, I think I'm around the 50s because he was up and down this year. He still shot 36% from 3. He recovered a little bit. But 3 games at NCAA tournament, he had a combined 18 points in 96 minutes. He was scoreless in 32 minutes against Tennessee. I know he was more of a star on the Canadian national team. I like as a second-round flyer, a first-round guarantee, which based on conversations you have, it doesn't sound like that. I wouldn't be on board for that.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. So, like, if he had a promise at 25 or something like that, I want to make sure I get this right because I think I said it this way, but I'm not 100% sure. If he had a promise at like 25, 24, 26, I'm going to throw a bunch of numbers out there because I don't want any specific team, associated with this.
Yeah, 24 is Milwaukee, 25 is the Spurs. Yeah, you don't want to.
Presumably, he would not work out at Golden State, right? You'd try and work out above that.
Golden State's 28, right?
Yeah. So I'm hesitant on all. I'm very skeptical. I think that there might be like some assurances from a few teams. Hey, we feel really good about Caleb. We really like him. I'm skeptical that there's like a done and dusted decision there, I guess is what I would say.
And what about his teammate, Moussa Diabate? Were you surprised by that move to stay in the draft?
No, because the intel the whole year, which I'm sure you'd heard, in which I think like Brendan Quinn, my colleague at The Athletic, has like kind of said like that it was unlikely for Moussa Diabate to be back at Michigan. Do I think this is a mistake? I do. I have not talked to teams that have anything but a two-way grade on Moussa Diabate. Is there maybe a team out there that likes him more than that? Very possible. And I just haven't talked to them. Or maybe I just haven't talked to like the right person in their organization at the highest level. I don't talk to all 30 GMs pre-draft. So it's possible that there's a team, but I have yet to talk to one that has him as more than a two-way.
Yeah, similar. I see it as just sort of the role that could work as an energy big that's at least billed as switchable, although not all the time necessarily switchable. At 6'11" with a motor, he did have 28-8 against Iowa and a win on the road. That's a big one for him. As a non-shooter and no real true go-to post moves, I don't know how the fit is there, but he does have a good activity level. I liked him in IMG Academy. Still has a long way to go.
Yeah, I mean, very athletic, very active, very aggressive. Don't think he does anything offensively that allows him to stay on the court right now at an NBA level. This is kind of what it comes down to. Can't shoot, not really a great decision maker, not really a great processor. I don't get this one. I think this is a bad choice, to be honest. Do you want to take a quick commercial break? Let's take a quick commercial break.
Fix our headphones.
Okay. We'll be back momentarily. I'll fix my headphones and we'll be in a good space.
So good. Oh my goodness. Hold on, I gotta send a picture to a friend here. You know who it is, I'll tell you later.
Okay, we're back. Pennie is currently in the process of sending a photo of us podcasting to one of our friends.
Oh, yes.
We haven't talked Kansas yet, have we?
Not this episode. No, we have not.
So they have gotten two big important decisions that are returning or entering school at Kansas. The first one is Jalen Wilson will be returning to their front court. And the second one is that Kevin McCullar is going to be joining Jalen Wilson. Those two are very close friends from what I gather, and they're now going to get to play together. And that's exciting. Like, Kansas is going to be great again next year. And I believe they still have, do they still have a roster spot? They might.
They might. I was actually looking at their roster today. They had 18 guys on the roster last year. So if they do, it's some funky math, but I wouldn't rule it out either.
So they have McCormick is gone, correct?
Yeah.
Let's see. McCormick is gone. They have the freshman coming in. That's right. They might not have a spot. But next year they have all of Kevin McCullar, MJ Rice, Jalen Wilson, Grady Dick in that wing 2 through 4 range. And that is just an awesome group of wings that will not be topped by anyone in the country next year. That is the best 2 through 4 depth in the class. Kevin McCullar is a top 5 defensive player returning to college basketball. Jalen Wilson will be set to average 15 to 16 points next year. And I think Grady Dick is going to be a one and done absolute stud first round pick as a shooter and floor spacer. So Kansas again, top 6 team in the country next year in all likelihood.
Yeah, and Erdis Uday up front there. Yeah, I think you mentioned MJ Rice. And now with Wilson and McCullar coming back, it's a different look, even though they won the national championship. So I know it'd be billed as like run it back. It's like sort of like, yes, absolutely, but it's different. For McCullar, he did get some decent buzz as a potential second-round guy during this draft cycle. And he'll have, hopefully, I mean, we just rattled off a loaded roster, but hopefully more offensive freedom at Kansas than he did at Texas Tech. Has to show he can improve the high 20s, low 30s, 3-point shooting. And I'm interested to see how many of those looks he gets when you do have Grady Dick and Jalen Wilson. And for Jalen, I'm glad he's back. He had sort of this redemption tour later in the season. He performed well enough at the combine. Some teams late second, undrafted free agent type range.
Yep.
Now you can run it back, be more of a focal point, and just show the more expansion of your game too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of this Kansas roster for next season. I think that with DeJuan Harris as well, really underrated lead guard. This is going to be the best defensive backcourt in the country next year with DeJuan Harris and Kevin McCullar. I think that they should try to find maybe one more big. Like there's a lot of reliance there on Ernest Uday. Maybe they think Zach Clements is going to be able to step into a role. I kind of sneaky liked Clements.
I liked him too. Yeah.
In the moments that we saw him this year before the injury. So I don't know. I'll be interested on him. I think that this team has a real chance to win a national title again next year. And for how much they lost, given that, Remy Martin's not going to be there. Jalen Coleman-Lands isn't going to be there. Ochai isn't going to be there. We can go up and down the list of guys that they're going to lose. Christian Brown, obviously another important one. Bill Self has done an incredible job of reloading here.
I assume Mitchell Lightfoot will be there because he's just contractually obligated to play for Kansas for the rest of his life. And what a way to go out. You're in college for 8 years and win a national championship on the way out the door. It's perfect. So happy for him too.
Okay. Next up, let's go Harrison Ingram, maybe?
Great. Let's do it.
What do you think of Harrison Ingram's decision?
Yeah. Loved it. I love that he left. A lot of times, the guys are in that 50-ish range. It gets slippery. They stay in. They stomp their feet. Sam a pro. He was not good the last month of the season. He was 2 for 12 from the field against Arizona. He was 2 for 10 from the field against Cal. He was 2 for 10 from the field against Arizona State with 7 turnovers. That's not a first-round pick. I mean, I really like his size at 6'7". I like how he sees over the top of the defense. Has that slow-mo pace game to him. Rebounds well. Common theme, shot has to improve. Has to be more than a 31% shooter from 3 if he's not going to be able to beat guys straight line off the dribble. The spins and stuff isn't always going to work in the NBA against better athletes. I had him in the early 50s. You go back to school, kind of be that guy towards the middle of the year where I thought he's 20 to 30 range. The skill set's not going to change, but the intrigue can still be there. And I'm glad he went back. It's good for him.
Yeah, I think that's all well said. Dalen Terry is next. And boy, do I love Dalen Terry.
I was going to say, you have the floor on this one. I felt we saw it coming. We saw the train turning the corner during pre-draft, and I was not surprised by him staying.
Dalen Terry is someone that you and I have talked about on this podcast a lot, as someone that we are very high on long-term. I didn't know that it would be coming this soon, and he has put the pressure on me to just make me put my chips down now as opposed to later. I respect it. Dalen Terry, 6'7", 7'1" wingspan, all defense guy in the Pac-12, very switchable. You talk to people about him, energetic, competitive, just like about it in a way that you're going to want to have him around on your team. Passes really, really well. He played point at times for Arizona this year. I thought that Arizona, frankly, was a little bit better when he played point as opposed to Kerr Kriisa.
When Kerr Kriisa was hurt, yeah.
Yeah, like I thought that they ran really, really well with Dalen Terry as the guy. Really needs to work on the shot, but the shot is not broken. Like I'm going to have a top 20 grade on Dalen Terry. I am putting it down now. I am a big Dalen Terry guy, and if he is on the board anywhere in the top 25, the team should take him, I think.
They do, and I have him at 22 as I pulled up my big board here. I had an agent tell me in late February, I think, they said, watch Dalen Terry. He's going to be the guy. I said, I don't know. He just doesn't really have the reps, the opportunity. Kerr Kriisa gets hurt, so you see the full show, and then he comes back, and you still see the intangibles. So you see how he plays off the dribble, and versatility is the word for him. And teams fall for also good personalities and that infectious nature during the interview process. We're able to shine through and say who I really am beyond just the court. That stuck out. I would have liked to have seen to go back and go from like glue guy to the guy. I get it. You're top 20, a real top 20 range guy, not 25 to 40, like a real top 20 range guy. You got to go.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm making you wait on the one that you want to talk about more than any.
I don't want to talk about any. Which one? Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I'm making you wait.
That's fine.
Let's talk about Justin Lewis, though, because I think this is an interesting decision, actually. Justin Lewis measured at the combine really well, decided not to play at the combine, which was very odd to me. I know that you've done a decent amount of research into where you think teams are on Justin Lewis.
I have.
I have not heard like anything above like 25.
Oh no.
And like most of the time it's like mid-second, I would say. Were you surprised by Justin Lewis deciding to stay in the 2022 draft as opposed to going back to Marquette?
Not really. I knew he was on the board. It could have gone either way. I haven't talked to anyone yet with the first round grade on him. Every piece of feedback I got said he was a guy in the 40s or so. I like the jump that he made from freshman sophomore year, netted out around 17 points and 8 rebounds, shot 35% from three, 44 from the field. I do have questions about the defense, the motor and the commitment to kind of finishing plays at times. Like he'll play for about 20 seconds and not all the way through the clock. And Marquette was boat raced in the tournament. They were straight up, and he was 2 for 15 from the field. So I don't think that necessarily helps him either. Can be a mismatch guy out of pick and pop, or he likes going downhill in those dribble handoffs with a head of steam. Shot, he's a little bit. He seems like he's more comfortable with his jumper than I am when I watch it. The numbers around the basket aren't great. Could be a roster, workers right into rotation type of guy. I still have a lot of questions with this game still. I would have liked him to go back to school, shore up the shooting.
So what are the two most important skills you need to be a role player in today's NBA?
Number one is knowing your role. And number two, I'd say, shooting and not making mistakes is the ones that would stand out the most to me.
Yeah. So I would have said shooting and defense in space at this point. You can carve out a role being able to play defense in space, both in terms of off-ball team defense and knowing where you need to be, as well as on-ball defense, being able to stay in front of guys. If you can do that thing, you can get on the court. If you can shoot, you can get on the court. Justin Lewis doesn't either.
Right.
And it's a kind of similar situation. He's an entirely different player in every regard to Dereon Seabron. But in terms of the way that they're going to operate on an NBA court in terms of helping a team win, I don't know. I mean, do you? Like, I don't know.
Not necessarily.
It
is. The sell is it's more in vogue to have these 6'7", 6'8", sort of, are they a tweener, but a tweener is a good thing, 250 pounds, can shoot a little, can go off the dribble a little bit, can use in different offensive sets. And I don't think he's like a 5. I don't think he's one of these like small ball 5s. But what we get caught up on a lot is we see guys like Draymond, or we see guys like Kevon Looney to say, oh, like he can just be a small ball 5 like them. Like those guys are elite, like supreme type athletes, NBA players. So I don't want to like put him in that box either, but I'm sure that's like the sort of mindset that people have with that.
But he doesn't protect the rim. Like,
no, I know, I know, but I'm saying like those, we kind of make excuses for everyone else, just saying like, it'll just be like positionless, but there's more to it than just saying he's a positionless guy.
Yeah. The thing with being positionless is being able to stay on the court because you can defend in space. Like being able to defend in space is kind of what makes you positionless in some way now.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Or not getting taken advantage of. And Justin Lewis has an enormous frame, 6'7", 6'7.5", 7'2" wingspan, enormous hands. Like he looks like an NBA player on some level. He just doesn't have the skills to match. Matt Pennie is going to grab his phone charger or his computer charger now.
We're back. That's the wingspan. That's all I needed.
He's back. Look at that wingspan. I love it.
Weird limbs.
While we're here, I have important news for Matt Pennie specifically, and only Matt Pennie.
Okay.
Nate Laszewski, the apple of Matt Pennie's eye.
Northfield Mount Herman.
He's back to Notre Dame. Breaking news.
I like that. Back to Notre Dame, the Irish. Good day for Coach Bray. Get him and JJ Starling are rolling.
Is he the last player in college basketball that you have coached?
I didn't coach Nate. Nate was after me. Nate was actually on that Kellen Grady team. I don't think anyone's left in college basketball I coach, which is dark. It's just sad.
Yeah, what a shame.
Yeah.
But regardless, Nate Laszewski back to college
back.
basketball.
Another name off the board.
One guy I do want to talk about. This decision happened like a while ago since we've been podcasting. We've had like 2 or 3 episodes since this has happened. But Trayce Jackson-Davis returning, I think, is really important. It makes Indiana like a legit top 15 team. I am an enormous is probably strong. I'm a big fan of Trayce Jackson-Davis. I love the fact that he's a legitimate rim protector. He has way underrated elevation. He is a legit shot blocker despite not having like crazy length, because off of 2 feet, he really has good vertical pop and has a great sense of timing. On top of that, real touch around the basket. Obviously really needs to improve away from the rim and needs to be able to do something away from the rim as a scorer. But I don't know. I kind of have like a sneaking suspicion that Trayce Jackson-Davis figures out a way to stick in the NBA.
I had him like 60th or 58th, late second. So I like that went back to school. He is what he is, and he owns it. He's a lefty scoring post. He rebounds. He had a massive run in the conference tournament that included 31-10 against Iowa. He had 29-9 in the first round versus Wyoming. He is still only 6'9". He's only taken 3 threes in 3 seasons at Indiana. They're all this year. When Mike Woodson got the job, part of the sell to Trayce Jackson-Davis, because he didn't know what he's going to do, is he's going to expand his game. He's going to take him out if he doesn't take threes. Just needs to do that to sort of fly up draft boards. You have to see more, like what you're saying.
I'm excited for Indiana this year. I really liked that Indiana team by the end of the year. I thought that they really figured some things out. You have Trayce Jackson-Davis as your centerpiece now. I think they have a really interesting backcourt coming back. They have Xavier Johnson still. You and I have liked Tamar Bates previously.
Yep.
Yeah, like I actually
candidate.
Think he's a breakout candidate. I agree with you. I don't know. I'm intrigued by what Indiana can be next year. They also have Jalen Hood-Schifino and Malik Renault coming in, and Malik Renault should be a pretty interesting complement to Trayce Jackson-Davis.
Yeah, originally committed to Florida during the coaching change, moved his pledge over to Indiana. It's an interesting group. It is. Jalen Hood-Schifino, McDonald's All-American. Yeah, they're good pieces. They are good, young, but good pieces. And then you have the elder statesman, Trayce Jackson-Davis, to balance it all out.
Matt Pennie.
It's time, isn't it?
I have breaking news.
Oh, all right. Who we got now?
Tyler Burton withdrawing from the 2022 NBA draft, going back to Richmond. Smart move. Just not quite there yet in terms of his all-around game beyond being a shooter. But has a real chance. Yeah.
He is. A little bit mechanical, but I like his game a lot. I like that he's going back too. That's the right decision.
I think it's the right decision. I think he actually has a really good chance to be a 2023 NBA draft pick.
Yes.
Okay. Chris Murray, back to Iowa. Another guy that I think has a good chance to be a 2023 first round pick, I would say.
Totally. The reports of the workouts with his brother out in Chicago was, I don't want to say as good, because let's stop the madness there, but they're all very, very positive. And I thought he'd be potentially like a early to mid second round guy of let's bet on him. Is he Keegan Light? Could he be something like that? He's going to have a good season and a big season next year at Iowa, when the offense probably runs through him a lot more. And they've had success on the jump with Luka Garza, with his brother. I anticipate more of a primary role for him. I undersold Keegan Murray last preseason because I didn't think he would do this. I'm not going to undersell Chris Murray. I like his game a lot.
John Butler from Florida State is going pro. I have no idea what this is.
Like as a
beyond like being a bad decision. Like it's very clearly a crazy decision, I think. But
it's overused, but he's legitimate like a big guard. Like he's not playing in the front court really at 7'1". And the game I really remember the most is that Duke one where he had a few timely stops and baskets. He was a real difference maker out there. It didn't happen enough. He needs to develop. He felt overmatched at times. I looked at the numbers. He played 19 minutes a game for Florida State. How many will he get in the NBA? I mean, even Scotty Barnes and Patrick Williams, when they were on campus, they got about 25 minutes per game. I like them a lot more. I see as probably second round to undrafted.
We talk about Kennedy Chandler's weight as being a problem, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Kennedy Chandler is 2 pounds less than John Butler, despite being a foot shorter.
Yeah, it's a wild stat.
I mean, he needed to go back to Florida State, put on strength. Like, it's not like he was in a bad space to go put on strength, right?
No.
Like, his career is going to be much more difficult now. He has talent. Like, he can shoot. He's 7 foot tall. He can move his feet really well, but he's probably going to be on a 2-way contract to start next year. And this is a very real mistake, I think.
We talked about it, and you were watching Florida State earlier in the year and said, who is this? Was not on my radar. This kid looks unbelievable. He blocked a shot. He had 4 points. And I got the same from a few people that saw warm-ups, starting layup lines. Like, do you know this John Butler kid? Like, yeah, I know the backstory a little bit, bounce around grassroots teams. Nobody said that this is a lottery pick this year. A lot of the quote-unquote draft Twitter community likes him as sort of a stash, but even there, no one's screaming like, great, he's going to be a top 20 pick.
Right. His career is going to be much harder because of this choice, is my take. Like, it's going to be, he's going to be a 2-way contract guy in all likelihood. I mean, like, even if he gets a guaranteed contract, he's so far away from being able to play competently in an NBA game that it's still just going to take forever. Like, and teams are going to get impatient with the roster spot to make it work. Like, this is not a good choice. I'm so, like, I feel bad. Like, I think the kid has talent, and I think that, like, there is a real chance that by the time he's 25 years old, has a chance to play in the NBA. He's just nowhere near there yet.
No, not yet.
Yeah, which is a bummer. Aminu Mohammed is physically ready to play in the NBA.
He is.
You know, kind of the antithesis here, where he doesn't really shoot it well, but is physically ready to play in the NBA. And I get this decision. I don't love it. Like, I will have him somewhere in my top 50, just because I would. I mean, would you give Aminu Mohammed a guaranteed contract?
No, I wouldn't.
I don't think I would either, but he'd probably be one of my priority 2-way guys.
Absolutely.
Because I think if you can teach him to shoot, he's so tough, he's so physical that I actually kind of like the rest of it.
Yeah, he's a smash mouth type of guy, but he's a 31% shooter from 3. Georgetown did well in the portal. They were really bad last year. Could have went back and another guy that, like, just be the guy. I love him on a summer league team and G League minutes going forward, not as a first round guarantee at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, interesting player. Not sure I don't know. His career, again, could be harder because of this choice, but he'll be on a 2-way. And I think he at least has a chance to make an impact early in his career on the 2-way. Whereas someone like John Butler, like, I think is just going to struggle to be able to get on the NBA court on his 2-way.
Yeah, you'd be less surprised if Aminu Mohammed somehow slipped onto a roster and is like guarding somebody in the second half. You'd be like, yeah, well, I kind of like see it. I don't think John Butler next season is finding his way onto an NBA court like, hey, we're going to run some pin down action to free him up because he's a little bit thin.
I don't think that's happening in the next 2 years, but like maybe 3 years. But I don't know. I'm maybe lower. Okay, David Roddy.
Yeah, David Roddy.
I'm bummed by this one because
just to be clear, David Roddy's in. Just want to be clear, he's in the
David
draft.
Roddy is in the draft.
Yeah,
I'm really bummed by this one because I really, truly, genuinely want to love David Roddy as a prospect, and I can't I can't get in.
Yeah.
And I just want to watch him play basketball and like be a good basketball player somewhere. And like, I guess I'll be able to do that in the G League next year. Like, he will be effective in the G League, but like, I don't know. He had terrible combine. I think we saw a lot of the issues that you would expect to see from David Roddy at the combine. Couldn't defend anyone in space. Lack of athleticism was readily apparent. All the skill in the world, can really shoot it. Really interesting bowling ball type player. I want him to be really good. He's going to be like in the 60s, late 50s for me. And I don't I don't know. I think I would have probably gone back.
He's not the same guy, but I just heard all the combine negativity, and that was similar to what EJ Liddell got. He went back and said, "All right, I got to slim down. I get more athletic. Got to move my feet better. I got to shoot a little better." Obviously, Liddell's taller and it's a different positionally, but you can.
And Roddy can shoot already, yeah.
Sure, but you can take like the teachings of that and see how it worked for other guys. I love watching David Roddy play. I think it's a very fun watch. I don't know if it's going to be a fun watch in the NBA. He's strong. He has fast feet for his size. The tweener thing is good until it's not good. And for him, I don't think it's like a positive positionless, but for him, it's like, what position does he guard on the other end? How will he be as a rotational guy? Want him to go back to school. It's going to be a more difficult path to get some NBA minutes.
The line between tweener and versatile is very thin. He is on the tweener side of it. Yeah. He can't defend anyone, I don't think, at the NBA level. He's too slow to defend guards right now. And honestly, he might be too slow to defend 3s and 4s if we're just being like completely real about it.
And you just, to do that and for an NBA team to hide you, you have to shoot it at such a high level. And I don't know necessarily if he's going to be able to do that. Good. I mean, that's one of his strong suits, but it has to be so high. Like the margin of error is so slim.
The margin for error for David Roddy is very slim. That's a great way to put it, I think. Really smart, really processes the game well as well. I really want David Roddy to be very good. I am just very skeptical that it is a thing.
I do too.
Okay, last guy here, AJ Green.
I know what you're doing. AJ Green, I was rooting for a transfer. I thought it would be Iowa State to play for his dad, who's an assistant coach. Iowa State is coming off a Sweet 16. They're crushing the transfer portal. AJ, 19 points per game at Northern Iowa, shot nearly 40% from three, 92% of the free throw line. Has a funky shot that, I think the Missouri Valley trophy is called like the Larry Bird Award for the MVP. And ironically, his jumper is like over the top of his head, like Larry Bird. See in summer league. I didn't think that he was an NBA draftable guy. Maybe late second if somebody just takes real value in the shooting. I would have liked to seen it every night against high major competition for a year.
I agree. I wonder if someone has said they will give him a 2-way.
Yeah, possible.
Because he had 2 really good options like on the table here with Duke and Iowa State. I wonder if there is like an option there where he is like, yeah, I'm really good with this.
Yep.
Breaking news.
Oh.
Matthew Pennie. Trevor Keels staying in the 2022 NBA draft.
Okay.
I'm a little bit bummed by that.
Yeah, I was bummed.
And
I think you heard my reaction. I was bummed.
It's because I don't love Trevor Keels as a prospect right now and have a second round grade on him.
Yeah, I'm trying to, as I'm scrolling. I do too. It's higher. Second round's 38th. I didn't love it. The draft doesn't bottom out, but there is a drop kind of after 25 for me. And he's just sort of that like muck of there. And despite it being June 1st, I still need a little bit more clarity. There were good things about being a strong off the dribble guy, but needs to add a little bit more craft and maneuvering to that. The shot has to return sort of more to that high school form. I don't know. More time at Duke could have helped.
I don't think the shot is all that versatile is my problem. He's so squared with it. I don't love it off of pull-ups. I don't love it off of movement. So he's basically a spot shooter who is like a 32% shooter right now. So not a good enough shooter. Also 67% from the foul line. So like not abnormal touch, right? So I don't love that. I know that like he came in with like point guard, like reps, I guess, and like point guard, hype. I don't really see him as a point guard because I don't think he's going to be able to break down defenses like at that level all that well. He's just a very thick bowling ball that like he's like a power guard. And I just don't buy that working at the NBA level, I guess. Great defensively though. Like maybe that's how he sticks, but I think that if I was I don't know. It's hard. It's hard because he's 18. He's so young. Like he could thin out and like maintain some of that strength at some point.
He's really strong. He set all like the Duke basketball strength records this year for bench press and squat and this and that. So he does have that part of it. I would have liked to see him around that young Duke core coming in of guys of Tariq Whitehead and Kyle Filipowski and who am I missing? Derek Lively and Mark Mitchell. Like they have a lot of pieces at Duke too, but a veteran that would also help their run that they're trying to make as well in year one of John Shire post Coach K.
Yeah, no, I agree with you that I think that would have been a better. I mean, better for Duke certainly. You know, he has a chance to go in the first round. Like there are teams that like him. I've talked to teams that have first round grades on him. You know, whether or not those teams will end up with the picks where he is, I don't know. It'll be questionable, but I don't know. I'm a little bit bummed by that one. I wish I liked him more as a prospect and like understood it a little bit more is maybe the way to put it.
Similar.
Yeah. All right. Finally.
All right.
Go ahead.
Josh Minott, Memphis, is staying in the draft. And I know you built this up, and a lot of people have built this up, and one of my opinion, because I've been on the bandwagon for a long time. I actually had some hope when he was in the transfer portal that he was going to go back to school. And it might sound crazy to hear, because he needs time and reps, especially for extended stretches on the floor. It's harder to come by in the NBA. It's harder to come by in the G League. The raw tools are there as a 4-3 with size and versatility. The jumper looks better, but it still has a lot of yuck to it. It's still kind of sideways in a fling. The combine I thought was better as it wore on. I'm keeping my stock. I won't be cashing in anytime soon. I hope he didn't jump the gun on his developmental clock too.
Where do you have Josh Minott on your board?
7th. No, I have him.
You had to top Hollinger.
No, I didn't have him there. I have him in the 40s.
Yeah, I also have Josh Minott in the 40s. I feel better now knowing that you're with me on Josh Minott.
Yeah, I want to be not even contrarian. I want to have him like 28th, and just the more I saw and read and heard and watched, I can't quite get there.
I love John Hollinger. John has him at 10, and I can't get it. I don't get it.
Possible.
Yeah, look, and Trevor Keels is going to get a guaranteed deal at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Right? Like that's the important thing here. Like he's going to be playing on real guaranteed money. We think, right? Like we thought that about Lou Dort, and Lou Dort didn't get a guaranteed deal. He was on a 2-way to start his career. But I would think Trevor Keels, being a Duke guy, like he'll get guaranteed money. I don't know. Like it's a fine decision. Like I totally am with it. Like I get it. It's just I'm a little bit bummed, I guess. Okay. Mailbag. We have time for a few mailbag questions.
Let's do it.
Jump in. Let's see if I can actually pull up my mentions here. Mailbag time. Okay. Let's see. Simon Rath gave us another good one.
He's the best.
I just ate the best dry aged steak of my life, but it was pretty pricey. What's the most you've ever spent on one meal at a restaurant?
Oh, that's a good question. I have a very bougie answer. Why don't you go first?
I mean, look, like one time after I think Laura got a promotion, we went out and did like a $150 like per plate tasting menu kind of thing at like a very famous like well-known steakhouse thing at in LA, or like Butcher in LA.
I was kind of similar. This was, so my son's 3.5, so it had to be about 3 years ago. This time of year, it was in August, and I was out in California doing Steph Curry camp in San Francisco. Napa Valley is about an hour from there. So my wife flew out. It was the first time our trip, kind of without our son. And we went to this 5-star, I don't even know the Michelin like star ratings, what the number is, but like whatever the highest one is. So it was price fixed for like a couple $100 a person plus the wine. It was like a million courses. It wasn't French Laundry, but it was like something of that ilk.
Yeah.
So it was good, but it was also like, let's just do the experience and pretend like we know what we're doing in here. So that was definitely the most. It was fantastic.
Yeah. And Laura and I have done like,
maybe?
we've done like a couple of, like, there was a place in LA called Nora that was in Hollywood that like, you know, $80, you know, a plate, or $80 a person for like, you know, tasting menus. Like, we've done a few of those. They're almost always good. Like,
Oh,
if you
it
really
was
like
good,
food.
but it wasn't like, hey, I'm going to come back next Thursday and do the same thing. I think I'm still paying that off my credit card.
Okay. Matt, you should answer this one from Andrew Beckner at AFrost32. Could Peyton Watson follow a similar path to Brandon Boston? Who do you like better coming out? Did you like Brandon Boston better coming out last year, or Peyton Watson better this year coming out?
Peyton Watson better this year. I don't want to put him on the same plane and say he's going to go 52nd or so, and then have these breakout moments where Brandon Boston had like a 20-point game against the Celtics when I was watching. I'm like, of course. But that's kind of your hope. Like, that would be your best case scenario. I'm higher on Peyton right now, but probably higher on like 2-3 years down the road than like right this moment.
Someone from Mr. Single Malt. Are you still convinced the Mavs will give Golden State problems? That's for me. I picked the Mavs to beat Golden State on the other Tab NBA show that I do.
Didn't they give him problems though?
No,
not enough.
About that.
Okay, well,
but, yeah, that was a bad pick, Matt. I am a moron. Is the accuracy there? Okay. Let's see here. Which player in this draft would you feel most comfortable throwing into tomorrow night's NBA Finals game for 15 minutes? Basically, which one do you think would survive best, even more so than just like let alone add something? This person gave a couple of picks, but I want to let you give the floor first.
You're going to yell at me. I'm going to say Keegan Murray. Because the reason Keegan is he can shoot, he can stretch the floor a little bit, he has size that he can switch. I don't think he makes a ton of mistakes. He can get out in transition, be a change of pace. That's why I think that he would be the best out there. I mean, you look at your top 10, and my board is a little different than you. Chet, probably not ready. Jabari, maybe, but you worry a little bit. Jaden Ivey, maybe. I'm going Keegan Murray. That's my pick.
It's a tough question, actually.
Sort of depends on the team too.
It depends a lot
Finals.
on the team.
It's tomorrow night, right? So it's, how does he fit on Gold State or with Boston?
I think my answer would be Jabari, because I think you could easily slot him into a 3-and-D role a little bit more. I don't think any of them would be like very, very highly successful. Paulo, like, you could sell me on like Paulo having like, you know, a 15 to 18 point night, but then like another night being like terrible and like almost unplayable. I don't know.
For the Celtics,
that's not a diss on Paulo. I'm sorry. Like, I don't mean that as like, you know, Paulo can't defend and all that shit. Like, I just mean like, it's really fucking hard to be a teenager in the NBA Finals. Like,
yeah, that's why the answer is hard for the Celtics, because of Rob Williams' injury. I would say Mark Williams, like, just be a rim protector, rim runner, catch lobs, because that's really all the Celtics would need. We're not like, oh, you know, a shooter out there. You need some time for 15 minutes a game where Al Horford can get a breather and Rob Will can come in, and he's questionable on the injury report. So I guess a 5 is a better answer. Mobile 5.
Yeah. I think my answer would be Jabari Smith, but I don't feel great about it, I think is what I would say. Good question. I don't know that I feel great about anyone of these guys going into the NBA Finals tomorrow.
No, I don't either.
But last year I would have felt great about throwing Cade into it and just being like, fucking go.
Yeah, and he would go.
Okay. From Scooter McNeese. Shout out to Scooter.
What up, Scooter?
What a great guy. Do you think the Nets made the right call on deferring the 76ers first round pick traded in the James Harden deal, I believe, to 2023? The answer is yes, for sure. And it's just because you never know with Joel Embiid's health. Like it's worth taking the roll of the dice. Like there's very little difference between pick 23 and 29. There's a world of difference between if Joel Embiid gets hurt 10 games into the year next year and they end up picking 10th or something like that than 23. So I think you had to defer the pick basically.
Yeah, it's more that it's not reliant on, well, we just don't like the guys in that 20-ish range. It's more about Joel Embiid's health.
Yeah. This is a good one. Who in this draft has an outlier skill? Danny LaRue calls it the undeniability factor, despite their pre-draft flaws. So like he's bringing up specific skill that is just like, this shit is going to translate. So like Brandon Clark's floater, right? Or Herb Jones's defense, or Tyus Jones's assist to turnover ratio, where he's just like not going to turn the ball over and be like very steady. What skill basically is like the underrated skill that is going to translate?
Oh, I don't know if I'd say underrated. Jeremy Sohan's switchability on defense. I don't think that's like not going to work for him to guard multiple spots. I just used him, but Mark Williams shot blocking, I don't think that's like going to go away. Those are the two that pop the most. I don't want to say shooting because like I would have said the shooting last year, Corey Kispert. It took Corey Kispert like 50 games to figure out like, oh yeah, this is how I do it again. Shooting's a tough one that doesn't like flip the switch right away for everybody.
I'm trying to think of like a specific skill that someone has to like answer this question. Jabari Smith has a move where he can basically just like get to his pull up wherever he wants. It's like this left-hand dribble into this spinning turnaround, like going back to his right, where like he'll elevate while wrong-footed and then like fixes alignment in midair and just like sink it. And it's just like, this shot is completely fucking unguardable, even for NBA players.
Yeah.
And I don't know how anyone's going to stop it. Like, and he's going to get better at it because it's unguardable now at 18. He's going to get even better at like being efficient, making that shot by the time he's like 22. Like, yeah, I'm pretty firmly a Jabari guy.
That's a good one. It's tough to block anyway. And once you get to like a few little tricks and release timing stuff too, it'll get better.
Yeah, that question is from Mother Momo.
What up, Mother Momo?
Okay. Let's see here. Oh, this is the question we're going to end on. This is an amazing question.
Okay.
From RMJ equals hero. If a team of 5 Jack Salts plays a team of 5 Kie Clarks, who wins and why?
Oh, Kie Clarks. Has to. Get up and down. Spread them out. Run the mini 1-to-1 ball screens. What are they going to do? Go drop coverage? Hedge? Let's throw it between your legs. It's not the Jack Salts. They're going to try to play slow. We'll get up and down.
I love this question.
That's like, do you want to fight a duck like every day? Or do you want to fight like a goat like once a month? Like there's a duck in your car every day. Do you want to fight a goat? Like I don't know the answers to these. I really don't. But like those are the type of things that this is along that continuum, I guess.
I think the answer is the Kie Clarks.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's because the Jack Salts would struggle to dribble the ball up the court.
The Jack
If it
Salts is
was
a great name of like a college dive bar band, by the way. Who's playing tonight?
the
Jack Salts. All right, they're not bad. Stop by.
Yeah.
Have a couple.
Okay, here's a good one. If the game is a half court game
I might go
between the 5 Kie Clarks and the 5 Jack Salts, who wins?
Half court, I might go Salts. You're not going to get winded if you're just playing 3-point line to the rim and back, just clearing out past there. You clog the lane. You can just play your Jack Salt zone the whole time and dare him to shoot. I can't believe this is a question. You want it fast and loose. This is as loose as you get.
Just to be clear, your Jack Salt zone.
Yeah, that's true.
The Jack, I think I would still go Kie Clarks.
Oh my gosh! Somebody make the graphic.
Half court pickup game of Jack Salts. Penny, do you have anything else before we just end our put this podcast out of its misery?
Highest ranked NBA draft podcast on the internet. I've watched a lot of film this week, and I went away from Memorial Day with my family, so I didn't watch a ton of TV. I did watch the first episode of Stranger Things, and it was nice to have it back. I know you're like done. You've watched it 4 times over. I saw you tweeted about like episode 7. I can't even fathom a 7th episode right now. It's 10:30 at night. We have the NBA Finals tomorrow. I will get there, but the first episode, I liked. My one call out was this. The kids are going through adolescence, right? They're older. It's natural. Yeah. It's life. They're playing high school students, which is normal. That's their age. But I felt like they looked like an SNL skit where they have like those characters play like high schoolers at times, like Horatio Sands is like a high school student, like those type of crossovers. And that's life. That's part of growing up. They're not like the little kids they were anymore.
The problem isn't the little kids. I think it's more like Joe Keery, Natalia Dyer, like
the next
those
age
people.
group
Like Joe Keery, I think is like 30 now.
Yeah,
at this point. And Joe Keery's amazing. Like shout out Steve Harrington. Like I'm all in.
But you can only brush your hair like a certain way to look like a year younger, right? It's like at some point, it's you're 30, man.
Yeah, like Joe Keery was the 3rd lead in like one of the top 10 movies of last year by box office. Like think about like Free Guy somehow made a shit ton of money. Like he's about to be a very big star. He is still just also like very old playing a like 19-year-old, 20-year-old.
Yeah, I think sort of that age, right?
Yeah. It's like when Tom Welling was in Smallville and he was literally like 30 years old playing a 17-year-old.
Right. It's always for high schoolers. I'll look. I'll be like, man, that guy's like 26. Like I get it. He looks younger. Soundtrack's awesome too. They've clearly invested a lot of money into that. Like every 5 minutes there's a new song. I'm like, man, how much do the rights to that cost? But I don't think there was much of a budget for this thing. Just like do it. Blank check. Do it. This thing's gonna be a smash no matter what.
Oh, Penny, you haven't even gotten to like the soundtrack stuff yet. It like gets there is a scene in episode 4 where you're going to be like losing your mind. It is.
Is it 11 versus Demogorgon over Tom Petty's American Girl? Because if so, I am very in.
I mean, Duffer Brothers, like hoop ideas, Stranger Things ideas here.
Oh man, that's good. But I was, it's nice to have some Netflix stuff in the hopper that I want to watch and I look forward to.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Stranger Things is amazing. This season was phenomenal. And I'm excited for the last 2 episodes here. Won't say anything else. I saw Morbius.
Ooh, okay. How's that?
My advice, don't.
Okay.
What else? Oh, Laura and I started watching Obi-Wan last night.
And good.
Pretty good. Yeah, like I'm happy to spend time with Obi-Wan Kenobi again.
Hey, it's boys. I'm happy to spend time with Tyrannosaurus Rex because Jurassic World Dominion. I don't even know the name of it. Comes out this weekend. I'm going to do my darndest to sneak in. I think it's 146 minutes. Oh God, I think you're right. It is next weekend. It's the 10th.
I think it's next weekend.
Oh God.
I think you're going to be in Vegas for it.
I retract my statement. I'll be at a camp at IMG. I will not be at that. Dang, ruined it. Well, it's coming up though soon. I don't know if Australia gets it early like Top Gun.
Well, you'll have to go see that with Jackie, won't
you? Probably. My son's obsessed with dinosaurs, and I've talked her out of. I don't think that's a good first in theater movie. Like, oh, it's IMAX.
Has Avery seen Jurassic Park yet?
He has seen scenes on YouTube, so we're like ready to like turn it off. He's seen like the iconic, the rainstorm, the electric fences are down. Here comes the T-Rex, and at one point he turned to me and goes, "Daddy, this is too scary. Turn it off." So, all right, man.
Oh,
gotcha.
really?
We're not there yet. Yeah, he wasn't like nightmares, but he recognized this was over his head. We weren't quite ready to do that.
Yeah, I get that.
Sorry, Dr. Grant. We will get there. I promise.
Okay. Pennie, tell the people where they can find you on the internet, where they can find your work.
Find me on the internet at Matt_Pennie on Twitter, and hopefully back here once we rest and rejuvenate and run it back in a week from now.
It's really a shame. So we podcasted for an hour and a half. Like, Drew Timme does not have much time left.
That's kind of the last one. I had a list of like on the show ones I was waiting for. That's like the last one.
Yeah.
He's trying it out.
I hope
knows what he's doing.
We don't know what Drew Timme is going to do. Like, I just want to make that very clear.
No, I don't.
So,
like, I do not know. Yeah.
The first 5 minutes of this podcast could look very dumb in an hour.
We'll make a retraction.
Yeah, we will see. Okay. I will have a top 100 update maybe later this week. I'm going to send it off basically tonight, tomorrow, whenever we get our final pre-draft decisions. I think that's all I've got for folks. So please remember, rate, review, subscribe, do everything you can to support the show. We will be back next week, or actually later this week, with someone that was previously mentioned on this podcast to discuss some NBA offseason previews. Until next time, we will talk